This is Marc Franklin, and for the first time in about 20 years, I was sent a package from Panasonic. This is their new AG-CX10 4K camcorder. It does lots of things. It does streaming, 4K 60, 4K 50. So there seems to be a popularity of videos on YouTube where people are just opening boxes, so why shouldn't I? So let's take a look, see what's in the Panasonic AG-CX10 box. Information for sending the unit back, because it's a sample, we don't get to keep them all the time. We have here a mini P2 card. Looks like a regular SD card, but it's, I believe, a special one. We have power adapter, mic holder, eyepiece, power cord, special, Ethernet to USB 3 adapter, and another USB 2 adapter to, for what, not sure yet. There's one of microphone. Panasonic makes actually excellent microphones. I have one microphone that I got with my AG-DVC200. That was a full-size DV camcorder from about 18 years ago. Although the camcorder has long been retired, I still use that microphone on one of my more recent Sony cameras, as it didn't come with a microphone. So let's get the accessory pack out of here. And I found a cute little camera. There's the instruction book. It's small. Huge battery well, though. Battery well is this place over here. That makes a pretty big battery for a small camera. And this would be the handle that goes on top of it. Some quick assembly required. Very similar to a number of the Canon setups. So here we are a few months after I did the unboxing video for the AG-CX10, and I've had a chance to use it. It took a little while to find things to do with it that are real world because of the pandemic and us being locked up in our homes here in California, but things are slowly opening up, and we were able to do a few real world shoots with it. But before the real world shoots, I did get to do a couple little things with it. I was able to put it on our Fuetech AK4000 gimbal, which can take up to I think it's a 8-pound camera. It did very well with it, got some nice images. Another thing that I was able to do while in lockdown was a review of the LaCie 500 gigabyte rugged, which you can see right here. If you notice, it's a little on the dirty side. It's because we had to do a test where we ran it over with a car. Hard drives have a hard life. They should get to relax a little bit. So into the jacuzzi it goes. Well, that's a whole other story. CX10 did great. For that, we did do one underwater shot with a GoPro, but all the rest of the video was shot with the AG-CX10 and mostly on the full auto. As I mentioned in my written review, it's a lot easier to use on full auto, and full auto works great. It's great. So based on that, I went on and did a friend's son's bar mitzvah. He had a backyard socially distant bar mitzvah that we live streamed. Now, while the camera does have live stream built into it, it's a bit on the complicated side, and just as somebody who does streaming media, our standard operating procedure for streaming an event at my company, Franklin Creative Media, is we'd like to do minimum of 2 cameras in case one camera goes down or whatever. So we had the AG-CX10 as our main camera, handheld, going around in the outdoor area of the backyard. We were having the bar mitzvah, and it was on a wireless HDMI transmitter going into a switcher that was also hooked up to our XA40, which is in our test fleet. And that was getting a wide shot as a B-roll in case either I couldn't get a good shot or something happened to the camera. Again, we had a second camera to go to. But again, we had the AG-CX10 full auto. Did really good. We were really impressed with the pictures. We're in the tent, out of the tent, sometimes shooting from in the tent to out of the tent, and none of the stuff that was outside the tent was ever blown out, which is something that, you know, if you've been shooting video for a long time and you've had that situation, normally if you're in a tent and you're shooting towards the outside, everything outside the tent's kind of too bright or blown out. But with the AG-CX10, it handled it really well. My next little thing was not really a work thing, but my wife and I took a New Year's weekend vacation, went sightseeing in the central coast of California by Hearst Castle, and took the top off, played tourist, even though you rarely see a tourist with a camera. And we got some really nice shots of the breeding grounds for the California sea elephants, whole other thing. They look like sea lions, but they're about 8 times the size, huge animals. Even like this, surprisingly, the little onboard microphone was able to pick up, you know, their cries.
Oh yeah.
100, 200 feet away, which was pretty impressive. And we were up on the cliffs shooting down at them, so it really handled that pretty well. The only time I did have some issues with it, and I'll see if I can share some footage with it, was the last shoot we did with it was a speaker, and it was also a gloomy day. It was all outdoors. There was a stage, and behind it was bushes and stuff. They were dark green. The camera wanted to brighten it up too much, and the speaker's face was just too bright. Because the speaker had already begun, I couldn't really do anything and adjust the camera too much. So I tried just pulling it off auto, and right away it put it to some god-awful default settings, and it looked horrible. It was blue. I had to go use a cutaway shot to cover it up. I switched it back to full auto, trying to see what I could do to mitigate the problems. I switched on the neutral density filter over here to, I think I put it up to 1/16, and it did work as far as I could tell, but because there was enough glare from the sun on the LCD panel, I was not able to tell that what it had done was boost up the gain and made the background of the bushes look very noisy. All the darks were very noisy, and that was somewhat disappointing. I was able to fix it in post, but that's something you really got to worry about. You want to trust this camera because it does a great job, you know, 75–80% of the time with full auto, but there are going to be times where full auto is not going to work, and you got to be prepared ahead of time for that. So while I can recommend this camera as a great little production camera, the menu system is a little difficult to use if you're used to some of the others. It's almost like using Windows on a camera. You've got all these pull down menus, And if you want something, it opens up another menu, then another menu, then another menu. You have these cascading menus. You can't open the menus during recording, which can be a bit of a pain. And when you put the camera on a tripod, these buttons along the bottom here can be very difficult to get at. You might have to use a pen to push them if you need to access these buttons while the camera's on a tripod. Now you can go in and set up certain of these user buttons as the buttons that are down here. You can if you want to be so bold, and you can also do some on-screen things. When I did mention that to Panasonic, their reaction was that the electro-optical hybrid image stabilization was so good you didn't need to put it on a tripod. Now that sounds like it was coming from an engineer, not a camera person, because I don't know anybody who buys a camera thinking they're never going to put it on a tripod. One other thing that I mentioned in the review is that the battery could be a challenge to change if you're on a tripod. If you have a tripod or a tripod plate, it blocks the battery. The release is over here, but you have to pull it down like that. Usually I'm a little annoyed when companies send me a camera to review and they only send one battery. But thankfully, these batteries last a long time, and it's never gone down past 40% on any shoot, even if I've had it on and running for about 3 hours. And it's probably one of the more power efficient batteries that I've seen, especially for a 4K camera. And not only that, it's a 4K camera running 4K 60, so that takes a lot of battery power. Another thing that I like about this camera is it doesn't drain the battery while it's on it. I like to keep a battery on a camera just so it's ready to go if I have an emergency and somebody says, oh, come shoot something, or there's a UFO landing across the street. I've got a camera with a battery on it, turn it on and go. This camera is great in that it doesn't drain the battery. Some of the Canon cameras that I have, I really like them as cameras, but I can't keep batteries on them because for whatever reason, within a week or so, the battery will be completely drained. I wouldn't worry about it with the AG-CX10 because it's very power efficient. So in the end, I found that this is a very good camera for many uses. It does have some weaknesses. If you need a camera that's small, lightweight, and has the professional features that, you know, the handle has on it, P2 codec. The AG-CX10 is a great camera if you need that P2 10-bit codec for the extra color space. It's lightweight, it's got a lot of great features, but you just have to know its limitations. You have to learn how to deal with certain things and know its weaknesses. It doesn't like dark backgrounds with light complexion people in front of it. And the menus you have to set up before because it's just, some of the things to get into them are just pretty hairy. It is a camera capable of putting out very, very good pictures and doing some nice things. And you should definitely check it out if you're looking for a camera in the $2,500 to $3,000 price range. It's something to consider.